there is light at the end of the tunnel, but you got to know that there's no silver bullet, no invulnerability, and anybody trying to, you got to watch out for the snake oil salesman.
Hey everybody, Brian Haugli. Welcome back to cisolife. Follow me anywhere down on LinkedIn or anywhere you find hashtag cisolife. We are having another exciting show. It's just like we're on the roll. This is great. I'm excited today because Tyler Moffitt is joining us, and we're going to discuss some research, the paper he's put out, some really interesting things. I'm also joined here by our CTO, Nick Natu. Welcome, Nick. Welcome,
Hello.
Tyler.
Thanks for having me on, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Tyler, I'm not gonna try to overview what you're doing. Why don't you give us like the high level, and then we'll dig into it. But what have you unearthed and what have you created?
Yeah, sure. So this Nastiest Malware thing kind of started just out of the blue. I think 5-6 years ago. It was just something we thought we would do around Halloween time, if that makes sense. You sort of come up with the scariest malware, and typically ransomware tops the list. Every now and then you get some botnets, but from where we were 5-6 years ago to where we are now, it's definitely evolved a lot more, and definitely love creating the content and even the images too. Definitely fun. The infographic everybody can check out when they download the link, but it's basically been sort of a culmination of the landscape, which, as everybody who's in it right now understands, that it just gets nastier and nastier as time goes on. Ransomware has now turned 10 years old, as far as like if you're to put a brand on like CryptoLocker, right? The original CryptoLocker was September 2013. We are now 10 years removed from that, and things have changed now. Now, we did see precursors, right? The FBI lock that wanted Ucash or money back, but as far as CryptoLocker taking Bitcoin, this business model that has exploded, number go up for the criminals, that's 10 years old now, and no end in sight there. It definitely looks to be doing very well,
Yeah. That's it's an unfortunate space we're in. I joke when I talk to college kids about, the future of the sector and what you're doing. And I'm always kind of like, I'm not going to be without a job. There's unfortunately bad guys who are always going to be out there doing bad things in this space, and they're going to need defenders. So go into some cool defense positions. But Tyler, on your role, like, would you characterize what you've done here as like core to your day job, and maybe kind of walk us through, what is it you're focusing on kind of primarily, and then what brought you to focus on this?
Right. Yeah. So my journey started out Geek Squad like 15 years ago, repairing computers, and obviously most of the time you're repairing them from malware, viruses. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about Geek Squad, but they basically just run like a disk back there that runs all the AVs. Literally, they put it in like a separate environment and then run all the AVs. And Webroot, which was the company that I eventually went to work for, was like the best performer. It was the quickest scan, removed the most. So I eventually, after 5 years of Geek Squad, decided to go work at Webroot, because they were headquartered in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I was living at the time. And so that was like, 2010 when I moved over to Webroot. And so I've been with Webroot, which then, got bought out by Carbonite, and then OpenText, the journey of working in that. So I worked in threat research, if you will, like classifying malware in a database for like 10 years, and then moved on to like helping out marketing, presenting, collecting data, helping write, white papers, research stuff, presenting at conferences, webinars, podcasts, you name it. And then now I have I work for marketing, so I've joined the dark side.
How 10 years now, like 10 years of doing this, right? How good do you think they've actually gotten? Like, is it so crisp, and they're like, man, their tool sets are perfect, their processes are great? Like,
how would you? Always room to improve. AI is probably going to help their bots and their rooms and their leak sites to helping people facilitate payments or dealing with like a customer support bot type thing. But they've got it definitely down. And basically, I would say all of the top ransomware, at least the ones we showcased in our Nastiest Malware, they're all running Ransomware-as-a-Service. They're all sort of coding their payloads to be the best possible thing to distribute out to affiliates for profit sharing. And not only is that beneficial from an attack standpoint, that they get to attack more targets because they they don't even have to worry about attacking because you have affiliates doing it, but it's also risk mitigation. I think that's probably the biggest part. None of these guys have been caught. Like you had like 2 years ago or a year ago, we had Ryuk and Conti as like some of our top ransomware. They're not here anymore because some of their servers were targeted and shut down, like command and control servers, but they rebrand and come back. A lot of the times they may come back with the same name, but I think 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6 that we showcased were literally just rebrands of Conti and Ryuk. So the groups, like you cut off the head of a Hydra, 3 more grow in its place. They never catch any of the guys at the top of this pyramid of affiliate scheme, if that makes sense. And it's kind of works out well for them because the affiliates are the ones committing all the footprint as far as attacking, right? Leaving all the trail to get caught, including once they get the ransom payment in Bitcoin, which is like, crypto is like a whole section for me. Like I'm real big into crypto, been mining since like 2016 in my basement, solar panels and all that stuff. So I'm real big into it. That's what actually got me into it, got me into crypto, was following criminals like in 2013. Wow. Yeah,
well, it explains the yacht. I mean, it explains how you got the yacht.
Yeah, it sure does. And
it's either that or the ransomware, right? Right. Both are paying the bills.
And so these affiliates get caught. Most of them who get caught, they get caught being silly with their Bitcoin, transferring it straight to an exchange with KYC that they have all their information to, and then the FBI or Interpol, whoever subpoenas the exchange, and they get the information, and then they catch them. Well, the affiliates are still scot-free there. They got their cut of 30% or whatever the scale is, because they have affiliate plus programs. I don't know if you know, Black Cat just came out with it's literally called Affiliate Plus. And so Alpha V, when they amass $1.5 million in profits, you get that the affiliate does in profits for the head guys, you get a new status tier called Affiliate Plus with better percentages. You get Munchkin, which is their proprietary Linux-based operating system payloads, and so you get to you just get a better suite, if that makes sense.
You're working yourself. I mean, look at Microsoft's Gold Partner Program, right? Like you sell more, you do better, we give you deeper discounts. I mean, I think this is the thing.
The business model.
Yeah. Do you also get like better more stable operating systems from Microsoft? I don't know if that's. I don't know if they do that in the gold tier, right?
That's the thing that always just crushes me when I talk to folks about just cyber in general. Like so many people are still in this, like, oh, it's this kid in his mom's basement. I'm like, no, this is a well-organized business. That has like an ROI and like they have sales quotas and like goals.
They have PTO. Processes. They have an office that they go to. They're probably talking about their payloads at the water cooler.
Yeah.
Like I think in Russia, it is considered legitimate business income as long as they don't target Russian civilians.
Sure. Yeah.
So a lot of these people, like, it's considered a normal job, just like you and me, and that's just crazy.
No, at DoD, when we used to track these clowns, it was we knew when they went on vacation. Like they have paid vacation. They go on stuff like, oh, everyone's at the Georgia Sea right now. They're on the beaches. Like it's that time.
The hacker holiday. We tracked that for a little while for sure. Yeah. They definitely liked it during the holiday season.
What's your take on kind of just the proliferation of what we're seeing and kind of your background? I don't know if you want to like spin a web of stories or give us some insight on what we're seeing here.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I never dealt on the criminal side, right? So I was at the beginning of like US Cyber Command and NSA and sort of that whole mess or organization, whatever you want to call it. And so we weren't focused on criminal activity like the Bureau. And so I don't have a lot of direct sort of stories in terms of like what it is that people were actually doing or have been up to. But I mean, just from being in the space, right, you're keeping tabs on things. And what I do know is like how to build those things, right? Like I know how to build a Ransomware-as-a-Service product and do it. So seeing sort of, I mean, it makes a lot of sense of why they're going in this direction, right? If you look at any sort of criminal enterprise, they start to try to firewall things off when they start getting caught, right? And that's exactly what they're doing. They're separating themselves from the people who actually go out and do it. You could look at the drug trade as another example of them doing very similar things, right? There's the cartels in other countries pushing drugs over, and then you've got distributors in the US. It's basically the same idea, just wrapped up there with technology. And I mean, in terms of sophistication, I mean, I don't think I have to be, I don't feel like I'm the one saying this, by myself here. Like, they're just getting more and more sophisticated, right? Like, you're seeing more and more attacks happen. You're seeing them bypass more and more AV, more and more EDR. It's just becoming harder and harder to track these things. And regardless of the defenses you have. So yeah, I mean, that's just like this, the stuff that you can read in the paper, right? Or on the internet these days.
Yeah.
Tyler, what was your kind of your two questions? Like, one's your biggest takeaway out of this that you were like, you kind of went into what you were building and like, oh, kind of learned something, like real aha moment. And then I didn't catch this. Is this an annual thing? Are we on like version 2? Did I miss that somehow?
Yeah. We got Nastiest Malware 2022, 2021. We go back until I think 2019.
Okay. All right. Good. So yeah, what was your kind of big aha moment out of like as you're kind of pulling this together? You're like, oh, geez.
Well, I think every year, I think a lot of us think we're in the wrong gig. If that makes sense.
That's no, totally.
that's like we're now I think 7 figures now was what we're seeing. Clop their Move It campaign, they hit that platform.
Move It alone got Clop 7 figures.
Yeah,
100 million,
60 million people. And they're anticipating. I don't have like for sure hard figures, but that
broad
is
strokes
consensus going around. Yes, if that makes sense.
It does.
Upwards of 100 million because of it, and that I would consider that supply chain. Compromise that and then pivot to the customers. That is definitely big. I mean, we've seen them try to go after that, but like this is the juiciest of the juicy. When you see what that they're able to do here, it's crazy. I don't like they keep winning. I don't know how to say this. Like how is it we have an industry where more and more money gets thrown into it, yet it gets worse and worse as far as whatever they do. It's a constant cat and mouse game, and absolutely defenses are increasing and getting better. And overall, even when you look at, and I think your aha moment, there was a chart. Covware has a really good coverage of like they had all ransomware payment resolution rates, and they've been tracking this for like 5 years. And so right now, this quarter, we're at 41%. Last quarter was 34%, so it's gone up just a little bit. But if you look overall, it was like in the 80s when they first were tracking it. 80% of people trying to pay the ransom. So overall, the trend has been that it's going down. Yes, some, obviously peaks and valleys, but overall the trend is going down, which I think is good that the industry is taking it seriously now. They're putting more in the investment and sort of the cyber resilience posture of it's not if, it's when right, and they're taking it seriously now, or at least I don't think they'll ever bottom out. I'm curious to see where this is, but 34%, which was 2 quarters ago, was the lowest we ever saw, which is kind of crazy, the fact that over a third at any given time will always just pay.
We saw I saw something, I think it was last year, where business email compromise actually surpassed ransomware as a #1
for money
threat and impact for a while. And I think it's because
2018, 2019, I think.
It was like, hey, you know what? This is like cash in hand, right? There was a moment where I think where criminals were like, okay, ransomware still requires me to convince you to actually pay, versus business email compromises, you just wired the funds to that account over there in Hong Kong that I have full control over. That's cash in hand.
Right.
And I think we saw some groups like double down on that because they're like, oh, it's guaranteed cash. Because Thursday's coming and I got to go out to the club this weekend. Generally, kind of when you see stuff tick up.
Totally
interesting, but that's fallen back off. Like ransomware picked back up, and like that was like a blip, right? It was like up, and then it's back to ransomware.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with the ability to the human processes that put in place for business email compromise are pretty easy, right? You now have to tell the CFO, right, that you're going to go spend this money. You
two-party system,
right,
all of that.
Whereas ransomware, you can tell whoever you want. You're still stuck, right?
They're experimenting too with just data exfiltration. They got some numbers here on like because like there's sort of a what do you call it, ransomware opportunity cost curve, how much you want to do and invest if you just data exfiltration versus also combining the encryption part, because the encryption is like the immediate impact, but the data exfiltration is like that psychological exploitation squeeze of do you want to deal crisis comms and draft communications to your customers, partners, and shareholders, and that's all gross. And so depending on your scenario and situation where you're like, yeah, we've got backups, or even if we don't, we just nuke, reboot, rebuild, that's fine. It's very different conversations when you've got to actually disclose it to your customers and partners, or GDPR fines and all that stuff, which I've seen them do on some of their leak sites. They'll advertise GDPR clauses on like how long you have to disclose your breach or face this fine,
right?
Which is funny.
But we're going to point out what your lawyers are already telling you, but we're just, why not? Since we're here,
it's fine.
Yeah, we have a threat intel platform that we use to help our clients with, so we get some insight into when basically we're tracking to make sure our clients and who we're working with don't show up on these, because
right,
I'd rather know, like I don't want to be ignorant, but because of that, we're able to see the broad landscape of each of these actor groups and what they're doing. And it's basically we're just scraping, each of their sites, giving the same insight that you're looking at to aggregate, to create your report. But it's just so unfortunate, because I see a ton of companies that are on these, and I'm like, that's a grade school. Like that's a 3-person law firm. Like, it's like these, like, yeah, Boeing's on Lockbits. Okay, cool. But like, you miss that there's 40, companies on there with less than 20 employees each, like littered all over these pages. And it's like, damn it, guys, like, how much are you really going to extort from them to make it worth your while to go through the process?
When they're snooping around, they look at a balance sheet, so they know how much cash you have in the bank, so you can't play games with them when you tell them you're broke. So they kind of know exactly how much money you have to pay.
Yeah, that is. I heard a story early days. This must have been 2016, 2017. A ransomware group popped this small town in the Philippines. And have you guys heard this story?
No, it was like a municipality they hit, or
it was like a municipality like in the Philippines. Yeah, okay. And the guy who like reached out to them and like started the negotiations with the operators, of the ransomware operators, like what they were asking for, they like, the guys in the Philippines was like, what you're asking for is more than we make in a year.
Yeah,
like we can't do it. And the ransomware guys were like, oh my god, we had no idea, here's the key, like, and just gave them the decryption key, because they were like, that's bad,
yeah,
like, okay, well, that's nice to hear, but at some point you're like, 3-person law firm, like, how much are they going to actually, like, can they afford 30K, 40K, 50K? Maybe.
But I mean,
small business, healthcare for sure, that's tons of that.
From a targeting perspective, that's not what you're doing, right?
No, I know.
You're blasting, and you're hoping to get everybody, and then I mean, I know a lot of these tools are automated, and they'll just like wrap up data whenever they find it. But some of them, you'll get your footprint, and then now if you can get supply chain access, right? It's like that's how I would do it, right? Is basically utilize anybody, and then from there I can pivot to upstream to any other clients that they might have, or any other whatever they're doing, and take a look at their balance sheet while I'm there, and like, okay, well, I can get 30 grand out of you. Like, that's
right.
Not,
no, the 30 to 50, that's bread and butter. Like 30% of what they're targeting is under 100 employees for sure.
That's payroll, right? That's a month of payroll.
Payroll, dude, that's bottle service on a Friday night. Talking about. Have you seen the pictures and the videos of the guys who were taunting the dude on Twitter?
XBT or whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks for the money. I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, I sure did.
That's some cojones, because like, I know the OSINT community out there is like, I know exactly what bar that's in, because I know that waitress and like her mom's name. Like, the OSINT community's got to go nuts on figuring out exactly what that is, and it's only a matter of time. I mean, that's the kind of thing that slips up. Like, that's what gets you caught.
The hubris. Yep. That definitely will get you caught. But again, like, I don't know if those are the top guys,
right?
Partying, that could just be the affiliates that are young and dumb and making these mistakes. Who knows?
Loudest guy in the room is usually the weakest, right? It's kind of like what's going on. That is no reflection on me being the chatting on here, or maybe it does. I don't know. Tyler, this has been great, man, having you on. Do you got any other any insights or any?
I think that while it is encouraging, and we've seen the most amount of like policing entities in their takedowns, like we just saw one with the CAC bot, right? FBI shut them down. But again, it feels like every single time, all they usually get is a pause and some servers, like some usually like they look like garbage boxes that your grandma had in 2005, like the one in Ukraine I saw when they're breaking into this apartment building, and I'm like, this PC like some broke spaceship from 2004. But
but dude, they're keeping their costs low. They know how to keep their expenses low and in check. They don't need the latest and greatest. These guys are better business people than us. Like, they're winning for a reason.
I know. And no matter what happens or what they take down or how cool the story is or how massive the botnet was they shut down, these guys just rebound. They're so resilient. And that would be the biggest takeaway, is like, don't ever take any of these. Like, I'm not saying that there won't be anything big in the future. They have 10 million. They've upped now the $5 million bounties on Yevgeny Bogachev or Maxim Yakubets, who I think are also like state sponsored actors, like where they run their campaigns and their head guys. I think when the Kremlin needs them, they sort of turn into state sponsored stuff and come in. But I don't know if they'll ever catch them. If that makes sense. And these guys will always be around. I don't see, at least in the near future, any sort of big development that's going to get any of these. Like, this threat isn't going anywhere, and if we've seen it in the past 10 years, is only growing. And I'm curious to see like what it's going to be like in 10 years from now.
Yeah, the incentive's wrong. I mean, the incentive you just outlined, that's all wrong. I mean, if the U.S. government really wanted to take these guys down, offering $5 million to be like, because essentially what you're not doing is like, oh, here's $5 million to a U.S. person to go find these guys. No, what you're trying to do is incentivize somebody in the Eastern Bloc to turn on that. And for $5 million, you're like, I make that in one campaign. You got to be like, here's $100 million for that dude's head. Like, that will turn your lieutenants on you.
They'll get them. They'll hit the docs.
So it's our own fault for not really putting together the right incentive program.
Really good point, and brings me to bug bounties. Holy crap. Blockbit has $1 million bug bounty. Like, we don't even have anywhere close to that. Google, Apple, like the most thing they give away is like 25K or something like that. I was at a security conference, RSA, I think it was, or Black Hat, I can't remember. And United Airlines was they were showcasing how they were leading the way with their bug bounties, because with all the internet and facilities they have on the phone with people connecting, the last thing you want is somebody to pivot from getting internet on their entertainment stuff to the airplane, cause it to crash, headlines, everything going crazy.
Please don't say anything about Chris Roberts. I don't.
Nothing with Chris Roberts. And they have people that literally go to graveyards and do all this and do the studying, if that makes sense. But United says that they reward them with airline miles. They don't even pay dollars. They just give you United miles. And I was and they're giving themselves a round of applause, like we're leading the way.
This is senior leadership. Senior leadership is still in the boardroom going, oh, it's just some kid in his mom's basement. This isn't a real threat. Like, they are underestimating their adversary. And you know what? I'm sorry, but like, that's what's going to burn good companies, is underestimating their adversary. And for businesses, whenever I talk to folks about this, it's like, you need to treat these folks like they are your competition, not just some bad people and hackers doing bad things. Like, you need to look at them like your competition. They are trying to go after your total addressable market. They're trying to go after your intellectual property. They're trying to, like, if you were to build your defenses and think about your defenses from a competitive landscape, what would you do? You would probably take it seriously. You'd probably put up defenses. You'd probably protect yourself a lot more. You'd take it seriously. You'd do something. And I just don't think organizations are looking at the problem that way to then put in place the stuff that they should be doing. So that's a joke that United is just giving away airline miles.
The incentives is so out. Like, if I had a 0-day exploit or proof of concept, why would I go to the good guys?
This is a wild space, right? This is just such a wild space to track and like be part of, both on defense and, obviously the intel side and seeing all that. Any parting words of wisdom? Glimmers of hope in the future forecasts on the data that you've seen that you think maybe we stand a fighting chance, or should we?
I do.
All of us with the skills
as
should
much
just
as it's all
go to the other side.
hellfire, brimstone. Everybody forecasts it. All these security companies end up making money while the industry gets worse and worse. No, I think I did bring the Q into the overall average number of people who are paying has gone down, which means while it does seem grim, overall the posture is getting better. People are taking it seriously. They're putting money and investments into it. They're learning that layered security is important. You can't really just buy a magic suite, set it and forget it. Got to have teams dedicated. And I think that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but you got to know that there's no silver bullet, no invulnerability, and anybody you got to watch out for the snake oil salesman trying to offer you that, because it just isn't there. They haven't clearly worked in the industry if they're trying to offer some silver bullet, because there is none, and I certainly won't offer it. But the posture is the most important part for sure.
I love it. Well, if you're gonna look for the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to at least acknowledge that you are in a tunnel in the first place. I think that's a big step. Tyler from OpenText, I want to thank you so much for being on. We will link the report and everything else about Tyler. Tyler, are you big on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever Twitter's called?
I have Twitter.
I
have a Twitter tag and LinkedIn.
Okay.
I haven't been on in months, but I probably should do that.
It's okay. Well, we will throw your info there so people can hit you directly and obviously be able to download this. I want to thank you again. Thank you, Nick, for being on. This is a great chat. Always insightful to talk to people in the industry who know what they're doing. I can't tell you how much I truly appreciate that little fact. You actually know what you're talking about, Tyler.
Thanks a lot.
This is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
Brian Haugli with cisolife. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Check us out on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platform. And obviously, using hashtag cisolife. So we'll catch you next time. Be safe, be good. We'll see you around. Thanks.